And so many of you know Jason. I am delighted to be able to introduce you. Jason is a passionate advocate for preserving open space for nearly 15 years, an avid runner and naturalist. He's been in love with the forests that stretch across Delaware and Pennsylvania since boyhood. When a land trust planned to illegally develop Beaver Valley in 2013, Jason founded Save the Valley. 4 years later, with the help of many dedicated volunteers, they made history by successfully defeating the development and adding these parcels of the valley to the U.S. National Park System. Hoorah! Recently, he founded Friends of Fairmount Park with a similar mission dedicated to preserving Philadelphia's Fairmount Park system from being slowly chipped away by developers. Jason is the proud owner of Trolley Web, a web design and marketing firm serving Wilmington and the tri-state area for over a decade. He proudly specializes in helping small business and nonprofits reach their potential through effective messaging and cutting-edge design. Jason believes, this is the sentence I love, Jason believes no one is too small to make a positive difference in their community and works to empower individuals to make lasting impacts in the city he loves so dearly. And I think that's what each of us is here doing, learning a little bit and doing our little part to make a difference. So welcome, Jason. I'm delighted to have you. So you are on.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, both Jill and Dee. I'm really excited to be here tonight and speak to everyone. Where's everyone's drinks? I haven't seen a single one. All right. I see a few waters, same here. And I think this is going to be a tough crowd tonight because it doesn't seem like you know much about the environment or open space. So I'm really going to have to work. I'm going to share my screen here and you can tell me if you're seeing it right. Give me a thumbs up. All right. You can all see my screen. Can't see my notes.
There you go.
All right, great. So tonight I want to talk about open space in a different context. We typically talk about open space as this thing that would be nice to have, and it's kind of expensive. And do we really need all that much open space anyway? To thinking about it as an economic driver. And I'd like to hopefully plant the seed of an idea tonight. I'm not coming here as an expert. I'm coming here as someone with an idea. And this is where the conversation starts. So a show of hands, who is here because you or your families were brought here because of DuPont or AstraZeneca, Chrysler, MBNA? Any hands? See a few here. These are the strategies that brought people to Delaware in the past. And every single one of these places, as we know, are gone or disappearing rapidly. I think the Wilmington's motto or slogan, in the middle of it all, encapsulates our old school mentality, right? Let's unpack what it says. Saying we're in the middle of it all, meaning we're close to other places, and that's why, that's where you should go, is to these other places. But it doesn't say why you should stay, right? It says come here because we're close to other places, but it's not giving you a reason to stay. This is a graph that's showing, it's a little bit complicated, but it's showing the population growth of Newcastle County projected into 2040, and every line is a different age cohort. So what you're seeing here is, it's a little bit difficult to interpret at first, but the major takeaway is the lines on the bottom are the only lines that are increasing are the people who are retirement age and above. So our population overall is decreasing, and the rest of our population is aging. And in order to be relevant, we have to start bringing in additional people in working class people, or rather working age people, to start working here and start building families here. And this is a challenge that we're seeing across the country. And we know very well that people are starting to work remote. And this is something we're now comfortable with, thanks to the pandemic. You can work in one place and live anywhere else you want. So we're seeing people who are living in rural areas, but working in California, or in big cities in California, right? And there's places throughout the United States that are competing for millennials. Big cities have traditionally had an advantage over rural areas, but that's just not the case anymore. Because of this, many places that were previously irrelevant as workplaces are starting innovative programs to attract millennials to their location. They recognize that if you create a livable community, then people will move there. And this is, if we just look at some of these places, and there's dozens of them. Bentonville, Arkansas is, made the news because it's this rural community. They have a small town, and they put in a lot of mountain biking trails. And all of a sudden, people were flocking to it. Not only did they put in the mountain biking trails, but they said, if you move here, we'll give you $10,000 and we'll give you a free bike. And their program filled up so fast. I have friends that tried to get into this program and couldn't because they're on these long wait lists. These programs are being executed successfully by small towns across the country. And those are also the places that we're competing with for this young workforce. And it's working really well. Just look in the news and you'll see story after story of people working in a tech hub in San Francisco with a very high standard of living, and living in a different place, typically a place with better access to open space. Take Denver, Colorado. It's the millennial mecca. If you look at the demographics, 72% of people in Denver are transplants. I mean, that's crazy, right? The median age is 36. Millennials represent over half of the people who moved to Denver in 2014. It's just, there's just so many people that are moving there. And I want to ask why that is. Why are millennials flocking to Denver? Is it because the tax incentives? Is it the mortgage rates, cheaper houses, better healthcare? What is it? Anyone? Just chime in.
Open space.
It's the open space.
Outdoor recreation.
It's access to the trails. It's access to the
Mountains,
climbing opportunities. What was that, Lori?
marijuana.
There you go. Which maybe is related to open space in some way. It's because millennials like open space, right? Pretty simple. So how can we compete? We're in the middle of it all, right? And we're never going to be able to offer what these other cities around us offer. How can we ever be Philadelphia? How can we ever be DC? How can we ever be New York City, right? We're trying to be something that we can never be, right? We can't compete with them. And you know what? That's okay. The question then becomes, what do we have that other places don't, right? Let's stop trying to be New York and Philadelphia and Baltimore. We have large amounts of open space. We have great parks. We have access to ocean. We have bike trails, right? It becomes obvious that the other half of the equation of in the middle of it all is not just the connectivity to other cities, but the reason to stay, and that's open space, right? We have all of these things that, all of these types of open space that our neighboring cities do not have, and they never will have. Our open space has been used as a developer's pool to dip into when they want to make a new development. We have large areas of open space that are not protected. The ones that our community members enjoy now, many of them, people don't even realize are on the chopping block. There's developers ready to build there. And this is a foolish way of viewing our open space. Instead of seeing it as this reserve for developers, let's start seeing it as a way to drive the economy. Millennials want it. They're moving all around the country to find it, and it's cheap. Compare the cost of putting in bike trails or a boardwalk or climbing hooks compared to the cost of subsidizing development, right? And that really is our priority. Does anyone recognize these places in Wilmington? New developments going up left and right. This one here on the right was a place that people tried to build on for a while. And then it suddenly caught fire on election day, right? And now there's a big development there, right? We only save land when there's public pressure to do so. We don't do it because it's a smart economic choice. Show of hands who's seen these signs around, right? How many people have seen a sign like this and thought, oh, here it goes again, right? We have an obsession with developing. And we create a lot of urban sprawl. Does anyone know of a place like this near them? Show of hands. Urban sprawl is really bad for a community, right? It shifts the economic burden of development to longtime residents. It increases transportation and energy costs, and it diminishes overall community character, which is the reason people want to be here in the first place. So what I want to do is take a minute and look at this article. Development is consuming open space at an alarming rate, right? So here I'll pull up this website from Delaware Online, and you can see in the span of just 10 years, all over our state, we have large areas of open space that have turned into development. This is in Newcastle County, in Middletown. We know Middletown is rapidly developing. Another one in Middletown, right? Bethany Beach, once forest, now development. No matter where you go, it's the same story. Throughout our state, our open space is just disappearing. And so I can go through this. There's a long list, but you get the idea. Let's see, how do I get back? You could see these before afters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, there we go. We're back. So the question is, in 50 years, what's going to be left? And the big question of the night, if this is all that's left, why would people want to live here instead of in any of these neighboring cities? It's time to start seeing open space as our ticket to remaining relevant. It's time to start seeing open space as our highest valued asset, not as a reserve for developers to dip into. Open space keeps us relevant. It keeps property values high, right? Take Central Park in New York City. What are the most, this space is worth a lot of money, but New York City recognizes that the value of having the space exceeds the value of selling it, right? And guess what? The highest valued places are the ones that border the park. Open space creates a sense of place. Serves as a hub for the community to go to and to meet each other and talk and be neighbors. And it gives people a reason to stay. So let's take inventory of all of our assets, right? In Newcastle County, we have rocks and woods. We have the Piedmont. We have these cities or these small towns that are and walkable communities that are nearby. We have hiking trails. We have biking trails in Middle Run and Newark. We have this rich history that we never talk about. Let's tell our story. Did you know Old Newcastle is older than Philadelphia? Right? Let's tell that story. We have so many assets. Anyone been here? Hagley Museum. This is where it all started, right? It's beautiful and it's historic. How about here, Brandywine Creek State Park? Is there anything like this in other cities? Look at these trails. You just don't see this anywhere else. These are our greatest assets. And what we have that no one else has is the combination of open space and the connectivity to other cities. Let's not blow it. So we have lots of opportunities, right? If we start preserving open space, we can install different mountain biking trails. There's different types of mountain biking. I don't know how many people knew that. There's skills, there's dirt jumping, there's slope style. There's different types of water sports, kayaking and canoeing. There's different types of climbing. There's top roping. There's bouldering, which bouldering just needs like a boulder and you climb that. These are cheap ways to attract people here. And we can start installing infrastructure left and right. I went to this place in Lancaster on a cold March day a year or so ago. And this was a rails to trails line that Lancaster abandoned at some point, but they recognized that this cliff is a perfect place to create climbing opportunities. And you can walk down this dirt path for a mile and you'll see people climbing every 10 feet from each other the whole way down. There were 100 people there that day, on that cold day, out along this old rail line. And why were they there? To climb this rock, right? We have opportunities like this right here in our state. Currently, we have one climbing facility, one outdoor climbing space in our entire state. That's it. But we have lots of rocks and we have lots of opportunities to install, just put some hooks and, suddenly people come. I took a walk around the backside of Rockford Tower and there's lots of boulders laying there from when they were building it. And climbers or boulderers had found these places and climb on it. And you could tell because if you look around, you see chalk marks all over the place where people dip their hands in the chalk and then hold the rocks. People want it. They're looking for it. And they found it even though we didn't create anything for them. Imagine if we put some energy into making this more accessible and then advertising that it's here. People love our parks and support expanding them. We have the political will to make this happen. Here's a cold March day where people are just out, filling the parks. The Newcastle County Land Preservation Task Force did a survey and they found that when asked, are you willing to pay more in county taxes for land preservation? 85% said yes. So how do we do this? There's 4 things. First, we want to incentivize density. Density is a good thing. It prevents sprawl and it creates walkable communities and economic efficiencies. Central Park next to New York City is a great example of density, right? Rather than filling the park with houses, they created density around it and preserved the open space. Next, we want to rapidly preserve land. Land is cheap, but it's disappearing quickly. And it's the cheapest it's ever going to be. It will never be cheaper than it is today. Let's plan for 10 years out, 50 years out, and 100 years out for areas that are less populated now that we anticipate will be more populated in the future. Let's buy up this open space while we still can. Let's increase funding to our parks and expand them. Parks foster a sense of place and community and stewardship and a healthy lifestyle. This is the low-hanging fruit. The infrastructure is already there. Let's just make it even better. And finally, let's foster a development mentality of quality over quantity. So when we do develop, let's do it in a way that creates value out of the quality, not low value community sprawl. We want walkable communities, and we want to give people a place to, or a reason to stay. So this we need to start seeing open space preservation as an economic driver, not a developable opportunity. When you frame it this way, instead of, hey, let's save the trees, open space preservation is an obvious choice. It leads to small business economic development. It serves as an attraction for the budding tech sector. It creates pride in your area, ends urban blight, fuels historic preservation and the creation of community gardens because people care about where they live. And open space makes way for an economic and cultural renaissance. So just some closing thoughts here is that Delaware can be a place that's unlike anywhere else. In fact, it already is different from everything else around it. Let's emphasize our strengths, not try to be like everyone else around us. Let's use our open space as an economic driver and as a way to create state pride, to create a strong sense of place and a reason to stay. We can attract more people from the tech sector, attract younger workers who can move here and start families, and create high community areas. If we don't focus on preserving open space, we're going to lose the greatest thing that makes Delaware a place to be somebody. Thank you.